Hey, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. And no, this is not the last day of school. I printed out the wrong one. I have a last day and a first day that I created, and I just realized a little too late. Honestly, this is just the perfect representation of this first day of school for my kindergartner. Things just didn't go as planned. I just didn't feel as ready, and I could have pushed back the day, but I didn't. Emmy is not at the compulsory age for school in our state, but I did a year of kindergarten with her last year. So this is kind of like kindergarten part two. Like, this is her second year doing it. And as I said, I just didn't feel fully prepared on this day. We had a really busy weekend between events with friends as well as going to our local fair. There just was a lot. So I had considered pushing things back, but she was super excited. And so we just pushed forward with her first day of kindergarten. Now, Emmy knows her letter sounds, but we have very much been working on blending three-letter words, so those CVC words, on top of just her knowledge of letter names. So she's got the sounds down, but it's very important now that she learns the names. And I have a lot of different flashcards, but these ones are my favorite. These ones are the Love Every ones that I got in the Reading Skill Set Part 1. And I just love these. I think they are so sturdy, they are so pretty, and the back of them all have animals. You'll see Emmy is putting them into different piles based on the one she likes the most. And you might notice that she is making motions with some of the letters. I have taught her different motions for each letter to kind of just help her remember what those letters are, and she enjoys those motions. Once we were done with the flashcards, we moved on to Explode the Code. Now, she already did the ABC ones before this, but this was her first time looking at Explode the Code 1. And I will say she was confused at first. I could tell once we got started that she didn't really understand the directions. So we made a few corrections. And then after that, I realized that she wasn't really seeing these as working horizontally for each thing. So I kind of had to block off the others to help her understand what direction she was working. And then after that, she got it. Even though we started our school year, I'm still keeping in mind that it is summer. My girls sometimes want to sleep in. Sometimes we're getting invites to different things. So I'm trying to be super flexible even though we have gotten things started. I'm now moving on to pinwheels with Emmy, and you will see that my oldest has joined in. She's doing her independent work while I work with Emmy. I actually started Alani with third grade last week because Emmy was in camp, and that worked out really well for me to just be able to focus on Alani. But you may have caught it, I was just working on the letter formation with Emmy, and you will see here that we also ended up working on how much highlighter is necessary when highlighting the capital letter and the punctuation. Emmy is working on Pinwheel's Year 1, Level 1. I had a goal of her starting Level 2 at this time, but that just didn't happen. But she's doing really well with this. Again, it's the blending that she sometimes has trouble with, and you will see later on in this video it really does get difficult for her when there's just more than one word. So basically, when it is in a sentence, we use the flip book that is part of this curriculum, and she really enjoys reading those words that way, like just one at a time. But she does get overwhelmed when it's in a sentence. But after this, we took a break. She got to play with her sisters, she got to have snack. They just got some time to themselves. I let Emmy continue with her break, and then I worked independently with Alani. We are using core knowledge language arts skills, and she was reading about amphibians for this. And so we did the reading, we did the vocabulary, and then I gave her some things we already had. So we had a frog life cycle kit, as well as a book that she enjoyed looking through. At this point, I called Emmy back so that we could go through one of her Love Every books. And so we went over the title, and then we opened it up to this little pathway that they have where you can just go over some of the words and that will come up in the book. And she was doing well with this, but when we got into the actual book, she just very quickly got frustrated. Again, she just sometimes gets really overwhelmed, even with small sentences, with words that she does know. So we just took a break. I decided to stop and we moved on to something that she enjoys. Though decoding frustrates her, she's actually really good at encoding. And so we moved on to the spelling activity that we have from Love Every, and she just has so much fun with this one. Obviously, you can't hear her in the video, but she is saying all of the sounds as she collects the letters as well as when she puts them back. I really make sure that is something that she is always doing. It is something that Pinwheels pushes, but it is also something that I have learned in any of my phonics training from when I was teaching. We took another break for lunch, and then once we got back, it was time for math. We started with a fluency activity where I was giving her a number and then she was showing me that number using her fingers. And then we moved into the word problem, which was 5 plus 2 more. We use Zern for math and I absolutely love it. I have used Eureka Math, which is basically what Zern is, for my oldest for kindergarten. And then we used Zern for first, second, and we're now using it for third. And Emmy used Zern's kindergarten math last year, which she completed. So this year she is doing Zern first grade. This lesson called for an egg carton and beads. I just use what we have. So that is exactly what we did. The focus was being able to see the different parts of numbers. So seeing that 5 could be 2 and 3, seeing that 7 could be 5 and 2, seeing that 10 could be 6 and 4 or 5 and 5, just being able to see all of the different parts of the whole. And she did really well with that. So after that, she was able to move on to her independent math work, and then I was able to work directly with Alani. As I said, Alani is also using Zern. She's doing third grade and working on multiplication. But once I was done working with her, we headed to the library. This was something we were supposed to be doing over the weekend to get the book that I had wanted to have for Torchlight as well as some of our other subjects. But unfortunately, our weekend had just been so busy. So it was nice to get this break, but this really was something that I had wanted to have done earlier because I had planned to start our day with Torchlight celebrate originally. It ended up working out fine. As I said, this day did not exactly go as planned, and it was just frustrating along the way. But now when I look back, it really just was a really nice day overall, despite everything not being perfect. This day was the start of us learning about Belgium and the Netherlands. I wrote the names of the countries in pencil, and then Emmy wrote over those. And once we did that, we went over to our globe and looked at where those countries were located, where we were located compared to those countries, those types of things. And then my girls had the opportunity to color the flags while I read them facts about the countries, as well as read the Vincent Can't Sleep book. I'm honestly so happy that I have these videos and the opportunity to just go through them and talk through them, because I remember how frustrated I was on this day. But looking back, it really was beautiful and it just was special, and it still was a really good day. And so thank you so much for your support on my channel. I'll see you in the next video, and subscribe if you haven't already. Bye.